39 light years away from Earth, stranded in deep space aboard the Sevastopol station, something is hunting you. Something big. Something smart. Something wet, dripping this weird, viscous white You'll need every tool at your disposal. Find a hiding spot, maybe a locker, or a locker. There are a lot of lockers. It's mostly gonna be lockers. And most importantly, stay on your tippy-ippy toes. Because something is hunting. Something alien. The hypersleep pod depressurizes. As soon as you step out of it, that retro sci-fi stench hits your nostrils like a truck. It's time to log in. Amanda Ripley, an engineer for the Seegson Company, who's traveled light years here to the Sevastopol station. She's come to pick up the recovered flight recorder from a ship called the Nostromo that mysteriously disappeared 15 years ago. The ship that her mother was on before she went missing. Who's there? Oh, no. It's like a scorpion got bit by a radioactive nutsack. This thing is just screw up. Hello. What is happening? Pause. Let's take a step back. We're getting a little wild. How about we just take this from the beginning? In 1979, Ridley Scott's masterpiece, Alien, was released out into the world. Its horror twist on the sci-fi genre in an era of Star Wars and Star Trek blew everyone's freaking mind, just like Luke Skywalker blew up the Death Star. A lot of the space travel in media at this point was depicted as this kooky, crazy adventure through the stars. But the movie Alien asked the question, what if that shit was kind of spooky? The movie follows a woman named Ellen Ripley aboard the Nostromo. The crew of the ship was prematurely woken up from hypersleep to answer a distress call. Only that distress call was actually a warning signal to not show up there. But they learned that like way too late. An alien had already stuck to somebody's face. That's the alien right there. It's called a face hugger. And if you're wondering why they call it that, it's because their faces are so cute that you just can't help but want to hug them. But you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it. Some bad stuff's gonna happen. They whipped that bitch off and skedaddled. And they all gathered around to have lunch, I guess. And one of the crewmates among us imposter, started getting a little rumbly in his tumbly. Then an alien burst out of his chest. That one's called a chest burster. If you're wondering why they call it that, why do they call it that? Because when you see it, it's just so cute that your chest is bursting with love. It bursts out of your fucking chest, I don't know. I know we're really pushing the boundaries on naming conventions here, but stick with me. The little guy grows up to be a big guy and then kills every guy, except Ripley, because she's the final girl. She ends up killing the alien by blowing up the Nostromo and getting away in an escape shuttle. She did not manage to save a single human life, but she did save the life of the cat. So, I mean, minor W. Her and the cat go into hypersleep and drift off into space endlessly, praying to be found one day. The movie's a little goofy, but it's a triumph of imagination and a foundational brick in both sci-fi and horror movie history. The art direction depicts a version of space travel grounded in the dated technology of the time. The characters were written and performed in a way that was profoundly realistic and human, some of them, which made the presence of the alien that much more terrifying. Alien was a hit, and so what did they do with it? Milk it! They made the sequel Aliens, which was more of an action movie, but still pretty good. They made Aliens 3. Yikes. Alien Resurrections. I don't even want to talk about it. Alien vs. Predator. What? How? Whose idea? A bunch of games, but only one good one. Some Alien vs. Predator games? I guess we're doubling down on this now. Slightly unrelated, but there was a game called Predator Concrete Jungle, and that shit was dope. AVP Requiem. We're doing so much Alien vs. Predator, we gotta abbreviate to AVP. A bunch of weird prequels where Michael Fassbender plays every goddamn character. Michael, you're a treasure, but there's too much of your goddamn face in this movie. There were some more games that were iffy, and then what I've heard some people call the franchise's lowest point, Aliens Colonial Marines. Question. What the hell happened? A little bit of money gets thrown around, and all of a sudden, this innovative horror film is turned into the most mediocre action franchise ever. Not only is it bad on its own, but it retroactively makes the first movie look worse. I'm not here to be a full-time hater, okay? It's more of a side gig for me. I love a cheesy action movie, and I think the later Alien movies are fun to watch. They're just nothing like that original film. It leaves you to wonder about the untapped potential of that first movie. What could a faithful sequel have looked like? All questions that were asked by the studio Creative Assembly when they set out to make Alien Isolation. This was going to be the game that captured the essence of that first film. The horror of being trapped in space with an impossibly powerful, hostile alien life form. And it wasn't a cash grab either. If you listen to the developers talk about the game, it's abundantly clear that they cared about that first film and wanted to honor its legacy.
As a team, when we were discussing it, instantly the idea of survival horror, which nobody was doing because everyone instantly went to James Cameron's Aliens and started shooting everything. And the original film seemed to have got a kind of a tone which hadn't really been done in video games.
Bring that horrific atmosphere to a new age of technology while retaining that same continuity from the original film. They went as far as to play the original Alien movie on loop in the studio so that the vibes were burned into the brains of those people working on it. But you see, translating a movie from 1979 into an interactive video game format 30 years later is not at all straightforward. They weren't just looking to copy and paste what was in the film either. They had to capture the magic of that original film and build on it in a big way, which is much, much harder.
The movie really downplays a lot of the sci-fi aspects. It's obviously set in the future, but it's kind of baked in the past. It's a 1979 view of what the future will be like. Technology isn't going to be the thing that saves you because it is just very mundane and everyday. And so that was one of the things that was really important to us, that it felt true in essence to that.
Now, I went into this game knowing all of that background, so my initial questions were, did they pull it off? Were they able to truly build on what was in the first one and create a new, worthwhile entry in the Alien universe? And when all was said and done, was this a good game on its own without the context of the movie? I'm gonna answer all those questions, all right? But I put a lot of work into these videos, if you can't tell, and frankly, YouTube just doesn't reward you doing that. It's more of a slop game, upload every day. The Alien Isolation situation is crazy, but I don't want to do that. I like doing this. This is what is fun to me. So if you could just subscribe, like, leave comments, whatever you can to tell the algorithm this is a good video. You can also buy a channel membership now, which isn't necessary, but it's only for people if you have some extra income and want to help me buy things like the Alien wearable tail for this video. This is where your fucking money is going. I also got a cup, but I thought it would be bigger. Honestly, just subscribing, liking, doing all that shit helps out a lot. No, I'd really appreciate it. You first arrive at Sevastopol Station. You're separated from your crew by some kind of explosion.
My God, Ripley. You're doing good, Tim.
And left, you guessed it, isolated. It's dark at first, and the hollow clanging of this big tin can you're in, alongside the mechanical whirring of the dated machines, define this eerie atmosphere. There's some kind of emergency console on the wall, and from it, you can hear a distinct beeping sound. A sound I'd come to pray for throughout my playthrough, because this is the distinct sound of a save machine. Similarly to Resident Evil, this game does not have autosaves. You have to save in one of these machines. So the longer you play without saving, the farther back you're gonna get sent if you die. No. And if you're on hard mode, like I was, you're gonna die a lot. You're gonna get an achievement for how much you died. Only 3.6% of people got this achievement. Me and that 3% know what's up. With really the only way out being through, we move deeper into the Sevastopol Station. Already we can see how far they went to sell the atmosphere that was so iconic in the first film. Probably one of the biggest hurdles to overcome when making a game like this. They had to capture the original design language and build on it in a huge way. My favorite detail about the environment that they retained from the original movie are these vents that open up like a little sphincter. It's just so distinct and iconic. They were in the original movie and there was a functional reason for them to be on the ship, so having them here is cool. The Nostromo in the original film is much smaller than the Sevastopol Station that they built for this game, so just copying and pasting assets over would not have worked. What they did was get all the reference material they could from the original film and reverse engineer how those sets were built. A big part of this was putting themselves in a time machine and only using references from 1979 and prior, essentially limiting themselves to the same constraints the set builders had all the way back then. That's how you end up with the CRTs and push button technology everywhere. But there are some key differences where they took creative liberty, namely in how the Sevastopol Station has descended deep into chaos. Moving into the more open areas, you can see graffiti all over the walls and all the technology in disrepair. For more context about what's going on, you can read the emails across various computers around the station. butt booty naked. What was going on this ship? I'm gonna be honest, I generally like audio logs and things like that in games, but these I just glossed over after a little while, stopped reading them because there's nothing interesting said in here. The only worthwhile thing you can get out of reading these emails is the obligatory door code highlighted in one of them. I think a Ring doorbell would be more secure for these guys. Amanda Ripley's goal right now is to find that flight recorder and regroup with her two crewmates. It's at this point that we learn there are more enemies aboard the station than just the alien. The beginning of the game doesn't actually even feature the alien. It's just these rogue humans and some working Joe robots that have gotten a little crazy. Due to the fact that they're being hunted by a big, powerful, basically invincible creature and no one is coming to save them, all the humans are extremely on edge. There's a few people that will be friendly to you, like this bald guy who puts a gun to your head, but he's actually kind of chill. He also kills another person just outright. And then he dies pretty much instantly. Unavoidable tragedy. I don't even remember his name. We will move on. And the rest of the humans will just straight up shoot you on sight. The working Joes, I'm gonna be honest, were scary as shit for half a second and then just were annoying to me. I did not want to deal with them. I do not like them as an enemy in the game. Where the humans will shoot at you, the working Joes just kind of walk at you and then punch you really hard if you get close enough within their little bubble. Any level with the working Joes is basically just an obstacle course to run around them and not hit in their little bubble. Navigating through situations with them will also give you a chance to get familiar with the gameplay before the big bitch comes running at you. Ultimately, this is a stealth game, so the emphasis is not at all on combat. I mean, you can fight people, like with a big wrench that I definitely did not pull off a dead guy, or the gun that you get. You usually get guns. They really don't do much. They suck so much, but you get them. Your best bet is to use stealth and distractions in order to get from A to B. There are some gadgets that you can use, but I really wasn't inclined to use them at all. I think I used the noisemaker a couple of times, and I used the smoke bomb as well, but definitely not in the way that was intended. Gadgets and abilities for stealth are just a hard thing to get down, right? So many games try it, and rarely are they actually useful in practice. So I won't knock the game too hard for it, but it left a lot to be desired. You've got to do a lot of running around and just fixing stuff before the game really picks up. One thing I noticed I actually did like is that when you're going to interact with something, it generally takes multiple button pushes and leaves you vulnerable for a good amount of time. So you have to make sure that you can finish whatever you start. Starting a generator just takes a shit ton of button pushes. And even saving your game requires you to sit there and wait for all three of these lights to go on before it actually saves. This can be annoying, but it's a cool feature. It serves the idea that the tech is old, slow, and unreliable, while also making menial tasks like opening a door still tense. That little window of time where you're waiting for your game to save is plenty of time for the alien to spot you and whoop your ass. It didn't happen to me though, I'm different. After a couple hours exploring this station, Ripley finally finds the flight recorder she's been looking for.
Oh God, the flight recorder. What? No! God damn it!
Yeah, the bitch is completely empty. There's nothing on it. I don't know why. Why did they do it? I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know. I have a couple complaints for this game. Here's one of them. The story is the biggest one. I do not like it at all. Mainly because there's nothing to like. The fact that we came here to find this flight recorder, only for it to be empty, and we go, oh well, I'm gonna focus on the alien stuff now, is a microcosm of how the entire game is set up. Microcosm means this, by the way, if you was curious. It's like a little example for how the whole big whatever. I'm sorry for treating you like you're 5 years old. You're better than that. Yeah, I bet you did know what it meant, didn't you? You knew. You know, gold star, just for you. You get one. Yeah, no, it's yours. You go ahead. You have it. You have it. But spell it. Microcosm. Spell it right now. Give me the star back. For a majority of my playthrough in Alien Isolation, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was just following the objective, the linear mission, not really paying attention. There's just nothing interesting going on. Every objective is go somewhere and fix a thing. There's very little personality or weight to any of it. What does have some weight though is the freaking alien. I did not mean like that. It's called a xenomorph, and Creative Assembly went all out when designing this creature. When it first descends from the vents in the medical bay, that is when the game of cat and mouse begins. And buddy, you ain't the cat. As someone who's pretty hard to scare in video games, this was the first moment in the game where I felt real stress and terror. The way it moves is so smooth and terrifying. They went so far in making sure that this alien's movements did not look robotic in the slightest. This massive, imposing creature slinks by you, just dripping that liquid. He's so wet, I don't know why. All you can do is hide under this medical table and clench every single muscle in your entire body as it moves away and hope that it don't smell you. This gameplay loop of having an objective to go and get something or go and fix something while the alien hunts you down and tries to stop you from doing so is the peak of this entire game. It's what the whole experience was built for. And what keeps it interesting is just how unpredictable the alien behaves. I don't know much about game development, but from how I understand it, the alien basically does not have a scripted path like a lot of enemies do in games, so you can't learn where it's gonna walk and try to avoid it in that way. It was created with something called systemic AI. It's basically the alien has multiple simulated senses and will just stalk the environment using those senses to try and hunt you down. If one of its senses detects you even slightly, just a sound, it will change its behavior based on that and move in your direction. And if in a sick twist of fate it sees you, or even if you walk behind it and step on the tail and it feels you, it will start chasing you. Once this happens, there's no getting away. You cannot run, you cannot fight, you cannot hide. It's gonna kill you. The alien, functionally to us, is invincible and will always kill you in one hit. And when it does kill you, there's rarely any gore. It doesn't rip you apart. There's not even really any blood. It just toys with you. And somehow that is much scarier. Now, I played this game on hard mode, like I said before, and I mentioned the achievement I got. This is basically an achievement for dying to the alien 100 times, just the alien, no other things. Only 3.8% of players have this. I think it's just me, right? I'm just not good at the game, not good at any games. I'm not built for this. The alien is absolutely the highlight of this game, which is why there are a couple decisions made over the course of the game that make no goddamn sense to me. Number one, you can find a flamethrower, and it is basically a win button against the alien. If the alien comes down and is walking around, all you do is blast it once and it goes up into the vents and you have pretty much free reign. Number two, there's a certain point in the game where the tension has just mounted like crazy. You're in this little area trying to sneak down under vents and back up, and the alien is hunting you, and then you launch it out into space and you get away from it, and then the alien is gone. And then you spend like 3 hours of the game just fighting the humans and the working Joes again. This was the biggest midway fumble I have ever seen a game pull off. Why would the main centerpiece of your game get sidelined halfway through just so I can play against some half-baked robots and dudes who have no personality? And another question, somewhat unrelated, why when I kill a working Joe, do they die so wet? Why is it so wet? And matter of fact, you know, why is everything so fucking wet in this game? Was there a guy on the team that's like really scared of wet gurgling sounds? I was like, yo, dude, if you want to make this game scary, we gotta make everything sound soaked. I get that in the original movie, there was a synth, and when he died, there was like liquid everywhere, but he ain't gurgle like this. I was playing this game on full volume in the living room, and my girlfriend in the other room had to come out and make sure nothing crazy was going on. There's a few levels here where there is just no alien whatsoever. These few levels here where they just have no alien encounter at all are probably the most frustrating part of the game for me. Extremely boring. They do pull it back a little bit though when Ripley goes down to the engine room. As you descend into it, you see the walls more and more are covered in this fleshy mass. Eggs lie on the ground everywhere, and if you get too close to any one of them, a new enemy type will begin approaching you. You might remember it, the face hugger. Don't you just want to hug that little guy? What does that look like to you? Does that look like something? I mean, just curious, you know, like yet another enemy type that is just way too annoying. I like their inclusion for lore reasons, I guess, but they're just, I hated dealing with them functionally. It's down here that you learn there was not just one alien, and the missing people all around the ship have been brought down here to this nest. While the prior 3 hours had left me just snoring, this section right here brought it completely back. It actually made for one of the most climactic final acts I've ever experienced in a horror game. That's the thing about horror games though, is normally, once you get used to it, they're not all that scary. But the way they lull you into thinking the creature is gone actually makes this moment hit so much harder. It doesn't make me wonder though, functionally, why the creature was not messing with us for the last 3 hours. I mean, clearly there were creatures, there were xenomorphs here. Why were they not messing with it? You know what, whatever, I'm not even gonna.
To whoever's hearing this message, stay away from the Sevastopol station. There are freaky aliens on this ship. I repeat, freaky aliens. I've just made it down to the engine room investigating the problem, and there's enough baby oil down here to fill a pool and 15 aliens who must think they're conductors because they're trying to run a train. Stay away, whatever you do. I gotta go. Stay away.
The game basically ends with you blowing up the engine room. That doesn't work. So you blow up the entire ship in a scene that mirrors the first film entirely. And then it ends on a kind of cliffhanger, and that's it. Alien Isolation is one of the best survival horror games I've ever played, but it is also a mediocre game. Where most games shine as being greater than the sum of their parts, I think Alien Isolation falls flat on so much of the game, but the gameplay with the alien is so good that it carries the whole experience. The story, I feel, does not do anything interesting at all. I think, honestly, they just chose Amanda Ripley as the protagonist so that they could call the character Ripley while also not just retreading the first movie entirely. Amanda Ripley isn't even brought up in the movie, save for a deleted scene in Aliens. One thing that made the original Alien movie so scary is how well the characters were written. It created a believable scenario. The characters in Alien Isolation are written so painfully flat. Any moment that was meant to be some kind of emotional beat, I just did not give a single fuck about. I commend Creative Assembly for faithfully capturing the vibe of that original film, but as someone who watched the original movie, I don't feel like I got anything new out of this game story-wise. In fact, I think some things were even lost in translation here. One of the things that made the original Alien movie so good is a particular scene that I mentioned before, where they're all sitting around laughing and having fun together, but that is interrupted seamlessly by a chest burster bursting out of a guy and killing him. The nonchalance of this scene just dissipating and being replaced with terror and dread in real time emphasizes the horror and gravity of the situation more than any other scene in the movie. Compare that to the bald guy in the beginning of this game who just acts as a tutorial to tell you that everything on the ship is fucked up before he kills someone and then dies himself. Neither him nor any character on the ship felt necessarily human to me, which left me just not caring if they died. In fact, if anything, I kept just doing stuff to try and get the humans on board killed, like throwing things and making the humans run around so the alien would kill them. And the game just absolutely slogged for a while there. There were points where I just did not even want to continue. I understand the idea of wanting to pace out your alien encounters, not blow your whole load at once. And I'd say, honestly, it did work. The problem isn't inherently that they took the alien away. The problem is that when they did, there was nothing interesting left. I had to deal with the humans and the working Joes again, and I really didn't want to. There is nothing interesting about a group of mindless humans who will kill you on sight and don't really have any human characteristics, or a bunch of robots that just walk at you and gurgle a bunch. I would have been much happier to stick with it if there was an interesting story unfolding at all, but there just wasn't, and there wasn't a single character that I cared about. It was all just an excuse to make me run away from an alien. But running away from the alien is awesome. So I'm okay with it. Coming away from it, I loved the alien encounters so much that I would say all the other stuff that I found boring and unfulfilling was worth it. This is clearly the part of the game that they were passionate about creating, and honestly, they killed it. I did, however, just learn that a sequel was announced, and I had some ideas for what I thought could be cool, so I wanted to share. They've clearly mastered the cat and mouse gameplay aspects here. What I think would be so interesting is to see that play out in a world that is influenced by your choices. Add another layer to that. One thing that was present in the films, but not really in this game, were those decisions made by the crew to save somebody's life or quarantine them away, and I would have loved to have made those decisions in the game. I'd love to play the game with a crew whose lives were in my hands. I could decide who was gonna go where and how we as a group were going to face the alien threat. Think of the replay value it would add if you had a whole crew of people and you could finish the game with either all of them or none of them. It just depended on the choices you made. That's just an idea I thought would be cool, but let me know in the comments if there are any ideas you would be interested in seeing from an Alien Isolation sequel. Alien Isolation is clearly a game built on passion for the source material, and that in itself is awesome. Even if there were things I really did not like about this game, as a whole, I still came away from the experience happy with what I got and excited for more. That's all I got. Let me know what you thought about the game, and click this card right here to go watch another one of my videos. I like making these. I'm gonna keep making them. You two think you're gonna like this one? Let's freaking find out, dude. Let's freak around and find out. I'm sorry that my hair looks like this. How we can cut. We'll cut before the hair thing or after.